Hey, welcome back to Girlfriend Let Me Tell You the podcast because I've got something to say. On my podcast, I share personal stories and experiences that relate to most single Black mothers. I want to help every listener see the world through the eyes of someone else or just simply help other single Black mothers realize that you are not alone. I talk about parenting, careers, relationships with family, dating, finances, and so much more. Because if you know, like I know, single Black mothers have done it all. I'm your host, Tasha. Today's episode is sponsored by A Cup of Stars Tarot, where all of your tarot card reading needs are fulfilled. Daily tarot card pulls are on TikTok and Facebook. You can also get your own personalized tarot card reading delivered to your email address. All details are located in the show notes below. Tarot card readings are meant for entertainment purposes and should not be used in lieu of speaking to any health care professional, such as a physician or therapist, etc. So you can find A Cup of Stars Tarot by the name of Cup of Stars Tarot on Facebook and TikTok. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to another episode of Girlfriend Let Me Tell You the podcast because I have something to say. I'm your host, Tasha. And yes, I'm going to do this one with an actual video so that you all can see me. And I just had to come on because I want y'all to see what I look like, but some days I just don't feel like being camera ready, right? I just got out the shower, just shampooed my hair, and I thought it looks pretty good, so I'll go ahead and go on camera. But tonight I want to talk to y'all about my experience with having Medicaid versus my experience having health insurance, okay? And the reason I want to bring this up is because whenever I was at a point where all I could get was Medicaid, I didn't have a job that offered insurance or I couldn't afford the insurance, which is crazy for a job to not pay you enough to afford the insurance that they're offering. Anyway, um, I just wanted to share my experience because I feel like a lot of women aren't getting the proper treatment that they need when they are on Medicaid. And some of them don't even know it's not proper treatment because they have nothing else to compare it to. And the doctors that you probably wish you could go to, they don't take Medicaid. Okay. There were some doctors' offices that I had tried to search for. This is when I lived in Greensboro. And it seemed like I was trying to find Black doctors only at one point. And of course, they were all booked up. And I mean, booked up like 8 months to a year out. So I couldn't even get with them. If I had a problem, I couldn't get to them to about 8 months to a year. And so I ended up, most of the time when I had Medicaid, I would go to the health department because they're always taking people, right? Well, let me tell you all about this experience I had, and I'm gonna back all the way up. So back in 2005, it was 2005 because that's when I had my first apartment, and I was working at the call center. I was making $10 an hour, which was a lot. I don't know if it was a lot in 2005, but it was a lot to me because the most I'd ever made was 8.50 an hour, right? So this is 2005. I have my own apartment, and I'm having intercourse and I end up with BV. If you've never had it before, BV stinks. It smells horrible. And I had it. And you can get it so many different ways. I'm going to tell y'all how I got it. I was allergic to latex and did not know it. So I was having protected intercourse. And, well, I was having protected nasty time. And it just kept coming back. And it had this odor to it. Now, I had to be at work. At the time, I had 3 jobs. But with my earliest job, I had to work from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I would take a shower in the morning. And by the time I got to work at 7 o'clock, that smell was horrendous. And I would have it on me all day. So no matter what I wore, as far as clothing, no matter what kind of detergent I used, no matter what kind of perfumes I tried to use, no matter how many layers of clothes I wore, it was just this odor that came, right? Now, somebody might be saying, but you said you was allergic to latex. Yeah, I found that out later. So I'm at work, I had this odor. It just felt like everybody was walking past me because they could smell me. And you know how it is when you're self-conscious or when you know like you're musty or you pooted and you know people can smell it. Whatever it is, whatever that you're trying to hide from, it attracts people. Or at least you think it does. It makes you delusional, right? So I would be at work and I felt like everybody kept walking past my desk to smell me. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know. So I had Medicaid at the time because even though I was making $10 an hour, I could not afford the insurance that the call center was offering, which is just backwards to me. Like, why would you offer it? Who's supposed to be getting it if can't nobody afford it? Anyway, so at the time I had I don't know what kind of insurance. Like maybe I had my mama's insurance. I know I didn't have my own, but I went to the health department and they had told me that I had BV. And if you've ever had BV before, they give you these pills and you're supposed to take two a day for 7 days, but they taste like straight metal, like freshly shaven metal, and it has an aftertaste that stays on your tongue. So they was like, you could wrap it up in a piece of bread and swallow it. Well, that didn't matter because it seemed like the bread came off and I could still taste it. And now the taste is in the back of my throat. They say you can do it with milk. Milk didn't kill the taste because as soon as it gets wet, it starts to melt in your mouth. The pill does. So it's still on your tongue. Water, it didn't matter. It didn't taste good. So the most I could do was probably about 3 or 4 days of taking the pills. And I might take two, I might take one, whatever. But I was like, I can't do this. So the BB kind of went away, right? Well, I go back to doing protected nasty time and I get it again. So I'm thinking, do I have something? Went to the health department. They said, no, all your tests are coming back negative. You don't have anything going on. You just have BV again. You need to start using rubbers. And I said, I do. She said, well, maybe you need to double up. So here I go doubling up, right? And then I get it again, and it's worse. So then I just stopped using rubbers altogether simply because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the actual rubber or if it's the lube or if it's I don't know what it is, right? Could be the wrap. I don't know what's going on. Could be the brand. So I stopped using them and then it goes away. Still, this doesn't click to me that that's what the problem is, right? So few years passed because I got pregnant in January 2008. So I'm using them, I'm not using them, I'm using them, I'm not using them. And in 2008, January 2008, I found out that I was pregnant. And then later in my pregnancy, I was working at a retail store and I had to wear gloves to wash the dishes because I worked at the snack bar of this particular retailer. And my hands would break out to the point that they were white and they were cracked and I had like little streaks of blood, you know what I'm saying? Because my skin was cracked real chapped. And I thought that I was allergic to the dishwasher liquid. So I had gone and got some more. Hands were still breaking out. And I'm like, what is going on? So then those gloves that I had tore, so I had to get another pair. And my hands started to heal. I could wash them and put on lotion and my hands would heal. And then I realized, okay, these are silicone gloves. What was I using before? And they were latex. So I'm like, am I allergic to latex? Yes, I was. Now, here's something. If you've ever been allergic to something, no matter what it is, it seems like you try to find out what else is similar to that or has that ingredient in it, right? So since I'm allergic to latex, now I know that I'm allergic to latex gloves. I'm allergic to rubber bands that go in your hair because they're made out of latex. I'm allergic to band-aids because they have latex unless you find the latex free. And when it comes to the rubber bands, they have those plastic ones that they kind of break easily, but it's your alternative to the rubber bands. There is latex and elastic in the bands of maybe your gym shorts or your leggings or the straps in your bra. There is latex and eyelash glue. There's latex and hair glue. So one time I had gotten my hair done, and this was in 2004. Excuse me. So I guess this was maybe my first encounter with an allergic reaction to latex. And my roommate had done my hair, and I had been wearing glue in my hair since before this. So I don't know what happened. But she put my tracks in, and later on that night when I was going to sleep, it just felt like there was something squeezing my scalp, and it started burning. At first, it was an itch, but then it turned to a burn, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, my head is hurting and my scalp is burning." So I took some medicine for my headache, and then I just started pulling the tracks out. So if y'all ever had hair glued to your scalp, you'll know you just pull the tracks out. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt if it's in there real good. And mine was fresh. And I pulled it out and I just sat there and scratched my head all night. And then I shampooed my hair. And then I got some shampoo and something else, and I combed all that glue out of my hair. And she was like, I did your hair for free and you took it out. And I'm like, girl, I don't know what it is. My scalp is burning. So that's another encounter. And then as far as eyelash glue, I don't believe I've ever used regular eyelash glue on my eyelashes because by that point I knew I was allergic to latex. So I use latex free eyelash glue. I use latex free rubbers. Um, I use the regular rubber bands in my son's hair, but usually I use the plastic rubber bands.
Hey, I just want to take a moment to pause for the cause and remind you all that the details for this episode are down below in the show notes. And also, my sponsor for this episode, which is A Cup of Stars Tarot, those details are below as well in case you want to get your own personalized tarot card reading. Or you can go ahead and join me on my social media pages and you can do the collective tarot card readings that we have weekly. All right, don't forget, look down below. Enjoy the rest of their episode.
I try to stay away from latex because it'll make my hands itch and it'll make them break out. And of course, it'll make my skin itch and stuff, right? So I found out I was allergic to latex by wearing actual gloves. Well, fast forward, and I'm still on Medicaid after I've had my son. And so I go to um I go to them to get my birth control and everything. And then if you fast forward a little bit, I had unprotected nasty time. And this was like in 2012, 13, 2012-ish, right? And I had gone to, yeah, about 2012, 13. Yeah, around that time. I had unprotected nasty time. And I got this condition where it was like these white strings coming out or whatever. Yeah, it might be graphic, but I mean, we all grown. So I had these white strings coming out. And so I went to the health department because I had Medicaid. Now, at this time, I'm on food stamps, probably on the city bus at this time, or almost on the city bus. And I go to the health department. They tell me I have a yeast infection. And they give me the cream for the yeast infection. It doesn't cure anything, it doesn't fix anything. I go back to the health department. And something I realized is they love to try to gaslight you and make you think that, nah, you crazy. We done told you what it is. We already told you what it is. Use this, keep using it. You're not using it right. Okay, you didn't use it for 7 foot, something, whatever they want to tell you. So they kept treating me for a yeast infection, and this white string never went away. So we got to the point where I was having pelvic pains. And then it got to the point where whenever I did have nasty time, it hurt. And I was trying to describe to somebody that whenever I was doing the nasty time, it felt like the person was going like in my walls. Like it just felt like jelly inside of there and everything hurt. Everything hurt. Okay. So I had that and they treated me for it for almost a year. They treated me for yeast infections. I finally just gave up like, oh, I guess my inside's gonna fall out. I don't know. And so I went and I got a job. This is when I got the job that paid $18 an hour. Yeah, it paid $18 an hour and I had good insurance. And I went to the insurance and I had this elderly lady and I was telling her it hurts and she gave me an exam, whatever, and she told me it was BV. And I said, it can't be BV because it doesn't stink. She said, well, there's different kinds. Sometimes it stinks, sometimes it doesn't. This is what you have. She said, why didn't you get treated for it? No, she said, how long have you had this problem? I said, for 2 years. And she said, why didn't you get treated for it? I said, I went to the health department because I just got insurance. And when I was going, they would treat me for a yeast infection. She was like, yeah, that sounds about right. The people at the health department, and I'm not going to say all people because I've had some great nurses. I guess it depends on where you go, how many people they have going through, because sometimes they try to treat patients like an assembly line. Like they want you in and out, no matter what it is. If we can't figure it out in this amount of time, we're going to tell them this. That's how I think it is. And I think that's just with certain locations. And it might not even be the whole location, but it's the nurses there. But a lot of my bad experiences came from this one place, right? So I go to this doctor and she treats me for it and she tells me use this gel. It was like a you know how you have the cream that you use for yeast infection? Well, it was the same applicator, but it was a gel. And that took care of my problem. So I had the same problem for 2 years because I was going to the health department. And I had to go to the health department because I had Medicaid and all the other doctors that took Medicaid were either full, as in they didn't take new patients, or the people who were taking new patients, they were scheduled out for like a year anyway. Right. So The point of me making this episode is to say that if you are a woman who is on Medicaid, any type of public assistance, right? I'm not going to shame you because I've been on public assistance many, many times, right? One time I didn't even think I was going to need it, but it boiled down to that. My point is, if you can get some type of employment that will allow you to get what I like to call real insurance, if you can find a job that will allow you to get real insurance so that you can get real feminine care, so that you can get real adult care, so that you can get right diagnosis for whatever you have, or get someone who actually cares about your health. If you could do that, do it. Okay. Now, this can go into a whole bunch of subjects. I know one thing is whenever I was working that $10 an hour job, I had the opportunity to get the job that paid $18 an hour. And I was telling other people, hey, this other place is hiring. And it's crazy because the place that paid $18 an hour, that's where the people from my job were going. That's how I found out about it. It was like, you ought to come over here. They're giving us $8 more an hour. And I was like, okay. And I went over there and they hired me like literally on the spot. They were hiring all of us. But there were some people who were like, no, I could use the extra $8 an hour, but I'm going to stay here. And they stay there because the same way I don't feel like a lot of healthcare providers care about the people who have Medicaid, that's the way I feel like employers who pay minimum wage or a little bit above it. Because at the $10 an hour job, we were scheduled for 40 hours a week most of the time, but we didn't get 40 hours a week. And they didn't care. They didn't care if we came in late. They didn't care if we left early. They didn't care if we took long lunches. They didn't care if we took long breaks. And we clocked out for our lunches. I feel like we clocked out for our 15-minute breaks too. Maybe we didn't, but I know we clocked out for our 30-minute lunches. So if you take a lunch longer than 30 minutes, that's just more time they don't have to pay you for. And they didn't care if we missed work. They didn't care if we called out of work. They didn't care what we did. And it was just people running around. Wow. And see, that's the incentive. That's the incentive for accepting low wages. And whenever you do that, you end up with something like Medicaid. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to shame you, but if you can get out of that cycle, if you can get out of that situation, if you can get out of that situation, excuse me, if you can get out of that situation, I suggest you go ahead and do it. Now, I have a job even better than the job that I had when I was making $18 an hour. So I have great insurance. This is my second year there. So I've been there for almost 2.5 years. The whole first year of me having insurance, I didn't even use it because I didn't know how good it was. And then when it was time to recertify or open enrollment, I was like, this is great. Because one good thing about Medicaid, now I will say this again, you have to find the right people. Now, when it came to my health care, when it came to like my feminine checkups and stuff like that, it was hit and miss. But with my dental, y'all, I got my teeth cleaned. I got a deep cleaning. I got fillings. I feel like I got something else done. Yeah, and it was $3 a visit. So my cleaning was $3. My deep cleaning was six because it did one half at a time. And then I got all my fillings on both sides in one visit, I think. Yeah, that was another $3. Ball was $3. Them people, I don't know how much it costs with, with the insurance that I have now, but I know I need some new glasses. I know I need an eye exam. I know I could use some dental work. I could use a new not a new cleaning. I could use a cleaning. And so I'm just saying, if you can get better insurance or if you can get some real good insurance, go out there and get it. And that might require you to get another job. And I know some people get so comfortable. They're like, well, I've been here for 6 years. I've been here for 10 years. But let me tell you something. If the job is not serving you, if you're still living paycheck to paycheck, whether you want to or not, and you can't catch up with anything, and you can't get the health care that you need, and you can't take vacations, or if you have a job that gives you vacation days, but you can't use them, might as well go find you somewhere else to work. Been in my job, like I said, for 2.5 years. And 2.5 years ago, I was like, I'm not doing that. Matter of fact, before that, people were telling me I should get this job. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm good. I got unemployment. I'm waiting for something better to come along. Child, this is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So I want women to get the best health care that they can get, the best um, nurses, the best doctors, the best physicians. I want you to get the best care that you could possibly get. And if that means that you have to go out and make some changes on the outside, then just go do it. That's all I can tell you. Okay. So, um, that's all I had to say about that. And I've already been telling y'all to update your resumes to get yourself out there so that you could be recognized. Don't be afraid of a new job. Don't be afraid of new money. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there because everything that you want is on the other side of what you won't do. I am a witness to that. I am an actual witness to that. Okay. So this is my episode for today. My name is Tasha with Girlfriend Let Me Tell You the podcast because I've got something to say. Y'all have a wonderful night.
Wait, before you go, did you enjoy this episode? Well, listen to some of my other episodes. I'm pretty sure you'll like those too. And while you're at it, take a moment to join my emailing list at girlfriendletmetellyou.com. You do not want to miss what I have coming up for you. Thank you again, as always, for your continued support and share this with somebody. Tell them about me. I'd appreciate that too.